Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Middle Row, the podcast. We are discussing a new release this week, an Amazon original. I don't know the exact trajectory for this movie and how it ended up there, if it was originally produced there or not, but it is being sold as an Amazon original now, and that is the film Radioactive. It is directed by Marjane Satrapi, and she is known for Persepolis and The Voices we talked about last week, and Chicken and Plums.
Chicken with Plums.
Chicken with Plums and Persepolis, I think, are both adaptations of her own work in the comic book form. But this stars Rosamund Pike and is a biopic of Mary Curie, who discovered radioactivity along with her husband, much to the chagrin of her, maybe. Yeah, I had heard some positive stuff about it, and I'm always up for a historical biopic, and I think this one is pretty good. When it wasn't, I think Marjane brings a lot of her style and flair to the movie and does some really interesting directorial flourishes throughout. And when it does fall back into being kind of stereotypical biopic fare, it's okay. But I think she dots the movie with enough interesting conceits. One in particular involves flashing forward in time a few times. And I think it's not only an effective way of analyzing this person and what they brought to the world, but it also is done pretty well in the way it's integrated into the film. One time really, really well. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought Pike was pretty good. She might have got a little over the top a couple times, but I thought she did a great job of creating this hard-nosed woman who stood up for what she believed in. And I also thought it was interesting that it wasn't like a love fest trying to make her out to look like some perfect being of the world. Like a lot of biopics feel like they kind of, get rinsed to make the people look about as good as they can, getting rid of, their abusive relationships and bad behaviors and what have you. But I felt this one was really, really kind of tackled not only who she was, but how her legacy ends up playing out. And I don't know. That was good. Enjoyed it.
I don't know. I read your review on Letterboxd, your brief little blurb, and you mentioned the thing bouncing ahead being your highlight for the movie. I was like, I think that might be one of the things I hated the most about the movie. It was just weird. The movie, it felt like it was kind of disaffected. It didn't really, I wanted it to take more of a stance. At some points, it felt like a biopic made for TV, where it was kind of like highlight reel of her life without getting too invested in who she was or having a stance on who she is, until it became about the scandals of her life. And oddly, I don't know if it's trying to blame her for Chernobyl. It definitely didn't blame her for World War II and the bombs dropping, because it was the American criminals that they pointed out many times were criminals in this movie. That was not her fault. But I don't know. I thought Pike was really good for the most part, but I wanted to get more involved with her in her life, and I didn't so much care about the legacy of it all. I actually wanted to know more about her as a person. And yeah, it was okay, there were these weird sections that they were perfume commercials mixed with art and video art installations mixed with the Ring video. Where maybe you're gonna die of radiation poisoning in 7 days. It was weird, and I appreciated that it had originality to it, but at the same time it didn't work for me. So yeah, it was just, I'm kind of just indifferent to the movie after it all.
I agree. I wish it could have dove a little deeper, but at the same time, I also, for just playing the hits of her life, I thought it did a fairly decent job of that.
I just feel like I still feel like I don't really know her. which is weird. Speaking of not knowing her, I was telling Kyle yesterday that we were doing this movie for the podcast, and he had never heard of Marie Curie before, and I was shocked because it's like, that's why when you watch this movie, I don't understand how he couldn't know who she was, because she's such a big deal. But it's like, I don't know. There's plenty of people I don't know, so I'm sure he could pull something out for me. But like,
they tried to cancel her plenty.
It was just so crazy. First woman to win the Nobel Prize. First person to win it twice. She's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
And her research, like, she died because of her research, essentially, right? Like...
Yeah, I thought it was so weird that at the end they didn't say what she died of. They're just like, she died, and like that final scroll, it's like, she did die because of what did she have, anemia?
Anemia, that was most likely radiation.
Yeah, but yeah.
See, I had a similar problem with the movie that you did, Lauren. Like, once it ended, I felt like I gained no new insight into Curie at all. Like this, and if a biopic doesn't give me any new insight or make me care about the person it's about, that's a failure.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a failure. And I wanted to like this. I like Pike a lot. I think she's a great actress. I don't think she does a great job with this. Not her fault. Like, just she can only do so much.
There's one scene in the movie
what's given to her
where she's talking about like comparing the process of getting radium out of pitch or whatever, and she was comparing it to fermentation with the grape. Is like, that was the one scene where I felt like she was a passionate person, and it was like a great scene for Pike, and just that. But like the rest of it, I was kind of like, yeah, this is stereotypical scientist person.
There was that, and then the sequence where she's like, "Can you make me forget my husband?" Or are we going full spoilers? Since we kind of,
it's a biopic, so I guess.
Okay. The bit where she's like, "Can you make me forget my husband?" Like,
wait, her husband
almost had an effect.
I love so much that he's like
it had this like, it almost affected me, but then it just cuts to Chernobyl, like in the middle of that scene. I'm like, what the fuck is this? God damn it, we were so close.
I feel
like
more for the dogs
Krennic
from Chernobyl, and I haven't even watched that show yet, than I do for the people in this movie.
It's like Krennic from Rogue One. We were this close, and I don't know, like the pacing reminded me of Wasp Network, actually, where it feels so fast.
Yeah.
but it also feels like super long. Like, I felt like I spent a day watching this movie, which, obviously I didn't, but it felt like that.
Yeah, it definitely felt Cliff Notes.
Yeah, and then the jumping back and forth between like what her research has yielded and then back to her, it just felt disjointed. Like, it didn't work, and it didn't, like, I felt like like you said, Zach, it doesn't go out of its way to, like, make her look like she's perfect, but I feel like it goes out of its way to kind of make her look bad, almost. Like, it's like, oh, cool, there's this one kid who looks like he might be safe from cancer that we get this really cool shot of, but then we also get atomic bombs and cancer radiation.
But like even the scene that was supposed to be positive for her, like with maybe saving that kid's life, it's like the thing that sticks out to me about that scene is the dad being like, will this hurt him? And the doctor doesn't say no. So it's like, so she's causing pain to children, this monster.
Favorite line in the movie, I actually like burst out laughing just the way it was presented. When she was sleeping with that other dude, and then her children came in, she just goes, "Do you need feeding?" I could not stop laughing. I'm like, I hope they played this for laughs, because this is fucking incredible.
No, I also just wanted to say about the music real fast. It was so stressful. And like the beginning, the whole time, for starters, it's very stressful that she's just like, everyone's working around radiation and radium and all this stuff. She's like sleeping with it at night. It's like, you're just slowly killing yourself. But the music was so stressful and didn't really fit with the movie. And it was like, at one point, it turned into this like sci-fi sound where it's like, had aliens shown up at some point, I would not have been shocked.
Well, like the other bit that I loved, but for the wrong reasons, is when she's sleeping with her husband and their shadows just go all Peter Pan and like float off, and I'm like, what? Why? I don't. Oh, what is this radiation doing?
It is disconnecting you from... I was so mad when they went to the seance stuff, and it's like it didn't tell us if they contacted Beethoven or not. It's like, I want to know about that, guys.
Guys, we need some closure here.
Did they talk to Beethoven?
Like, I get it. Cancer therapy. Bombs. Cool. Did we get Beethoven?
Yeah. What did you think, John?
I'm between both parties right now. I'm between Zach and Lauren and Ben, and I think I'm leaning a little bit towards Lauren and Ben. As someone with a background in chemistry that knows like very little chemistry history beyond what I'm required to teach every year, I did find this useful in learning more about such a inspirational and innovative figure in chemistry and in science in general. So I appreciate it for that sake. And I actually think Rosamund Pike did an amazing job. I think it was interesting that they kind of played her character as maybe, like, perhaps... Like, there's a given or there's an understood awkwardness that comes with any type of, like, scientific genius or proficiency. And, like... But at times it did sort of feel like, are they trying to imply that Marie Curie was maybe somewhere on the spectrum? Or was she just, like... this dedicated and invested in her work
that's exactly what my mom thought. Like, she was like, oh, they definitely wanted to make it look like she had autism.
I just took it as socially awkward, which I very much relate to.
Well, and I think there is an aspect of once they kind of peel back the layers of, and they don't go into it a whole lot, but the idea that she was greatly affected by her mother's death in the hospital, and maybe the pursuit of trying to be in a position to do more regarding those types of things is what fueled her scientific interests. On the Wikipedia page, it said that her mother's death turned her from like the devout Catholicism of her mother and her sister to more of an agnosticism and just an apathy in regards to those things. So I think, yeah,
well, all we got from the movie was she's scared of hospitals now.
And so it's...
She had a great line about being a dirty Catholic, or an ex-dirty Catholic, whatever it was.
And I think, real quick, I think that also, that entire sequence told me a lot about what it was like to be from a different country, especially like Eastern European country, in a Western European country, at the turn of the century, when I don't know if it's the turn of the century, but
it was the turn of the 19th century.
Okay, thank you, Zach. Thank you, history major Zach.
I think she died in the 1930s, maybe.
Yeah, I think she died before World War II.
So, like, the idea that just because you were from Poland, you immediately get attributed to Judaism, and how much anti-Semitism was rampart in any part of Western Europe at the time. That was fascinating. So there's a lot of fascinating aspects historically about this film that it enlightened me to. I think some of the direction I actually found really cool. So some of the sequences, like Ben and Lauren, you were talking about, I found very compelling and very evocative, such as the dancer or some of the flash forward sequences. I do think they're... Zach, you mentioned this was based on a graphic novel?
No, her previous work was.
No, I think this was based on a graphic novel too.
Was it?
And so I think knowing that, some of those sequences make a lot more sense, because I think it's easier to like flash between panels and kind of take the reader to a conclusion about, or take them down a train of thought in a more effective manner than it is in film, at least in this instance.
And it would need more visual flair, which is why we have like shadows doing their thing, and that dance was an interesting thing. It just, I don't know.
IMDb says it's based on a
like
book.
It had a place in the movie, but...
by Lauren Redness.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's a graphic novel or just a regular book.
I thought I saw on Wikipedia it said a graphic novel, but I could be wrong.
I'll Google it while you talk.
Maybe there is a graphic novel based on the novel.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, yeah, it could be, and not. It doesn't have to be either. It can be and too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's like a lot of things that are compelling in this film, but I think
I was just gonna say it's called Radioactive: Marie and Pierre Curie, A Tale of Love and Fallout. I don't know if it's a novel though.
But I think the thing, and granted, I can't think of a lot of biopics I've seen besides, I was trying to think, and the first one that comes to mind is A Beautiful Mind, and then, and I guess we can debate whether or not this is a biopic, but Amadeus. But
why wouldn't that be?
I don't know, because it takes a little bit more maybe creative liberty or creative licensing.
Everything's taking creative liberty.
Well, I feel like, I mean, didn't we have
the movie with Eddie Redmayne?
Danish Girl?
No, the one where he was a scientist.
Theory of Everything.
Yeah, that one.
But I was also thinking of the, I'm dropping both the actor and the musician. Shit. The guy from Kingsman. He was,
Colin Firth.
No,
Jeffrey
Eggsy.
Rush.
No, Eggsy. He was, Elton John.
Rocket Man.
Taron Egerton. Yeah, the Elton John biopic that, like, the trailers made that seem like it's a biopic, but also very eccentric.
Before
and
we
very,
move on,
like,
I
out
just
there,
want to make it known that I did remember Stephen Hawking's name after I forgot it when I said he was played as a scientist.
That guy Eddie Redmayne played in that
you know
one
that
movie.
super famous
The guy
guy
from
where I
those other
just
Harry
gave
Potter movies.
Kyle crap about not knowing who a scientist was.
Well, so I think...
Oh, Kyle better pull out a biopic. That same biopic, you gotta watch that, I guess. Again.
So, okay, so that, and then, I mean, and then, Bohemian Rhapsody, I guess, would also be one. But I think the thing that makes... well,
Just shut up, Zach.
Well, no, I agree with Zach, because I think the thing that makes a good
Shut up,
biopic,
John!
The thing that makes a good biopic is some kind of underlying tension and prevailing tension that
AIDS isn't a good enough tension for you?
That's easily conveyed, and you agree with me, so stop playing devil's advocate.
Mike Myers saying you can't do something. I feel like that's a whole lot of tension, right?
That's introduced early on and informs the entire narrative, right? And so when you think about A Beautiful Mind, it's the paranoia that informs John Nash's behavior that is revealed as really just his deteriorating mental condition. In Amadeus, it's the competition between Salieri and Wolfgang Amadeus, and how that competition informs their
Salieri got
relationship.
Crushed. Fool.
And that's what makes these films like really compelling to watch. There wasn't really any of that.
But that's what the flash forwards are. They're like, she's driving towards all of this destruction and awfulness, but also good things.
She didn't cause it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, she does. So at the same time,
so...
you know, I thought that's why it was so interesting, is because it's like
she cannot be blamed for the actions of other people.
I'm not blaming her, but it led to it happened because of her, sadly.
So yeah, and I think that's the thesis that the film is trying to convey, is that this is an area of which, like, how do we interpret scientific discovery that has led to such terrible and
and without her, we would not have had as many people die in World War II. It's like, we would have.
So it's the quote at the end, right, when she's walking with her husband and he says, "You changed the world," and she goes, "In the right way," and he responds, "I'd rather be someone that hopes the world full of light than fears for the darkness out there, wouldn't you?" And she goes on to say, she's like, and he goes, "You threw a stone in the water. The ripples you can't control. There are things to be scared of, but there's so much to celebrate." And she goes, "I hope you're right. I hope you're right." So I get that the ambiguity and the ambiguity of the answer to that question of whether or not her contributions did more good than harm, and the subjectiveness of that is kind of the point of the movie. But and I get that the flash forwarding into the different events, whether it's the development of radiation therapy or Chernobyl or the atomic bomb, I get that they're supposed to highlight that tension and hark back to that point, but it still wasn't really done in a compelling way, I think. And it wasn't very clear. And I will admit, like, this film, I had trouble getting through. So I stopped and did other things at times. And it was hard to really like be wrapped in by it. And so for that reason, like I kind of knocked it down a couple of pegs, but I'm somewhere between a 2.5 and a 3. I don't know.
You bringing up that thing, the scene with her husband, like the ghost of her husband or whatever you want to call it in the end. My problem with her asking that question is it's a compelling question, sure, but she never, like, that was the first time she ever seemed to ask that question. Like, she didn't care about it in the beginning, like throughout the rest of the movie. So it's like, why is it suddenly coming up now? The only thing she ever really cared about, or what the movie made it seem like she only cared about, was radium being used in random products.
Well, and I think it could have highlighted the thesis of the film a lot more if it contrasted her uneasiness and her unknowingness at the end with her drive and with her ambition in the earlier part of her career. It was conveyed like well enough that she was ambitious and like super motivated, but not enough to like create this character of, or create this tension of, well, is all of this really the result of her ambition? Like, was she not restrained enough in her scientific pursuits and endeavors? And the movie doesn't really create that thought process or thought train.
It's like, prior to that point, the only time we ever see or hear anyone ever say anything like that is when her husband's giving his Nobel Prize speech, and he talks about like the criminality that could like use this what they're discovering or whatever for bad. It's like, that was the only time where like the morality of what is happening with their thing or with what they discover, that's the only time it's really brought up. She didn't really care or didn't seem concerned with that necessarily until that final scene. I bought
into her having the hubris of a scientist who had discovered not one but two new elements, and
what was the other one?
Polonium.
Driving her to just. I mean, they do acknowledge people are getting sick. And she knows that her husband was going to probably die from exposure if he didn't get run over by that carriage.
God, him getting run over by horses was such a left turn for me. I was just like, oh my God. It was amazing. And then it went into some weird sequence of like just an art installation of like imagery that was like, what is happening right now? It's like, this is what's going on in his brain as it dies.
And I think, to mention a couple other biopics we just talked about, Ben, I think to have that type of film style or cinematography makes sense for both Rocket Man, because we're talking about like the fantastical creativeness of Elton John, but then it also makes sense in the context of A Beautiful Mind, because you're talking about trying to visualize the genius or the understanding of a man that you like, who you can't see their understanding, right? And it just it used that at times in reference to her genius, like especially like you were saying, Lauren, during the grape scene when it showed kind of the atoms and stuff like that. So it kind of referred to it in that way, but I don't know.
Yeah,
but
we only get
these weird
like
moments.
2 scenes like that in the entire movie, if that. Whereas A Beautiful Mind,
it's embedded in it, right?
Yeah, and you get to know, and you also get to know the man behind the person behind these incredible revelations, these discoveries. Whereas, I mean, all we know about Curie from this movie is she apparently thinks she's a bad mom. She doesn't like people in general, and she's super arrogant. It's like, well,
she's a scientist.
I mean, I don't think she's a bad mom. Her
she
kids
called her
seem to love her very
she
much.
called herself a bad mom, though.
At the end,
shout out to Anna Taylor-Joy. What wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, who did she owe to be in this movie for this little portion? It was just like randomly she showed up. It was like, what favor got called in?
When I first saw the cast of this movie, she was like third billing. So when I went in, I'm like, she's going to be a big part of this movie. And then by the end, I'm like, this is some bullshit.
Yeah, she showed up and I checked the timestamp. I was like, is there an hour left in this movie?
I'm sure
what is
she
happening?
was a fan of the director.
But no, it wasn't that much.
Maybe she's a big fan of Madame Curie.
I still think there are some solid performances in here, and if anything, this makes me want to go back and watch more than just The World Is Not Enough.
That's your touch point for Rosamund Pike? Not Gone Girl?
No, not The World Is Not Enough.
You know what you guys need to see that I keep telling you to watch? Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, I've seen Pride and Prejudice. Good movie.
No, I know you have. These other two weirdos.
This
Die
is the
Another
one.
Day,
This is
that's
They
the
won't
one with or
listen to
without
me.
zombies.
Without. If you want the one
I
with
watched
zombies, you get to see the
Gone
guy who
Girl.
played Pierre.
She
He was,
Gone Girl, right?
Yeah, she was in Gone Girl. That one I had spoiled for me, so I haven't seen it.
No.
Yeah,
totally
but I mean,
worth
that's
watching.
for
Does not
for
matter
me.
the
That
twist
is.
at all.
This is you saying that, though.
I would
Is it
agree
worth
with
seeing?
Zach on this one. Actually, like I think her
Yeah.
performance and Ben Affleck's performance are like the
I don't
They're
know.
worth
I don't know if I can stomach seeing a Bostonian wearing Cardinals gear.
Wasn't there a whole thing about that where like he fought?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, like,
Go watch Gone Girl.
you can just
It's
fast forward
excellent.
through that.
Put it in my top 100 of the
But yeah,
last
go watch
decade.
Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, she was in The World's End and Johnny English Reborn. I kind of want to start with a comedy for her. Just
Johnny
because
English, let's go.
You
Die-
can skip Wrath of the Titans.
Is that the
Was she
second
in
one?
Die
Wrath of
Another
the
Day
Titans?
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that's the second one.
is
Clash
not
of
a
the
good-
Titans is enjoyable.
The
Wrath
first
of the
one was
Titans,
worth
not so
writing all
much.
about either.
Yeah, I didn't.
Wrath
I
of the
didn't li- I
Titans
didn't
has
mind
like
Clash of the
one
Titans.
cool scene, and that's.
I mean,
like-
I was expecting
guys, go
garbage, so
watch
when I watched it, I was
Gods
like,
in
this is pretty fun.
Gods of Egypt.
Oh, that one looks like garbage.
I
I think
want
most
to
people
watch
hate
that.
that one.
I do want to watch that.
Oh, she was in Surrogates too. I forgot that.
She was in what?
She's been in a lot of stuff.
Surrogates? Is that the Keanu Reeves movie?
Hostels, ugh. No, thank you.
No, that's the
That one
Bruce
was
Willis
not.
one.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that movie sucked.
she's in
Which
Jack
one?
Reacher. The good
Really?
one.
I didn't mind
The good one.
Surrogates.
I was not a fan.
Rosamund Pike's great. Also, everybody, Sam Riley, who plays her husband, is incredible
Really
Pride and
good.
Prejudice and
in the
Zombies.
movie.
Yeah.
No, he's fine in this movie. He's incredible as Ian Curtis, the lead singer of Joy Division, in the biopic Control, which is one of the best movies of the last 20 years, I would say, if we're talking about good biopics. Yeah, I mean, I hear what you guys are saying. I think, but like, I thought the giving the Nobel speech and intercutting it with the bombing of Hiroshima was like brilliant.
Did we get to hear her speech at all, or was it just the standing ovation for her? Like, I
Wait,
wanted
no,
to hear
it's
She
just
had
a
a
standing
speech.
ovation. We didn't even get to hear her speech.
Yeah, I want to hear
I thought
her
we
speech.
had the speech.
No, we just had her
They
husband's
definitely
speech.
get part of her speech in some way. I
Yeah.
thought.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I remember, like, because I rewound it, because it was like she walks out, and then everyone's like clapping. And it's like, did I miss it? And I rewound it. It's like, no, I didn't miss it. And then there was some talking afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay.
Was it a voiceover? I don't remember watching.
I think
her
it
give
was.
There was.
You know how I am with
remember
voiceovers,
distinctly.
guys.
She didn't say anything.
Lauren doesn't
Yeah.
listen
But-
to voiceovers.
They
Yeah,
just
if
block
if
them out.
Virgin Suicides is any indication, maybe I'm.
I told you guys,
confusing
it happens
too,
in
I don't
video
know.
games too.
She will deny Giovanni Ribisi was ever in that movie.
I think it's like I would say this movie is more interesting from a stylistic directorial standpoint than Rocketman is. Like Rocketman abandons its musical concept about halfway through the movie and just becomes pretty standard. You know, like
Just so you know, I haven't seen it.
yeah,
I'm
no,
just
no,
talking
no.
about
I
it.
I
know,
haven't
but
seen it either.
but I wish that was like I think it's a good movie, but that would be my complaint is like it didn't try to keep it going. And I would say the same thing here. Like there are a few too many dragging bits between the flourishes. I know you guys weren't fans of the flash forwarding thing, like I was, but I really appreciated that she was trying to enjoy. And then like you said, those little cut animated sequences, the fire dance sequence. I was always I never went a few minutes without realizing she was doing something interesting directorially to try to make this to spice this movie up. And
Yeah. I appreciate the effort,
Yeah.
but it did not work
Yeah.
for me.
I'm telling you, man, Peter Pan Shadows highlighted the movie for me. Ooh, so
what
good.
is some people's favorite biopics?
I don't watch a lot of biopics.
Yeah,
Yeah, shit.
Lauren
I mean-
calls them Oscar bait.
I mean,
and
does
throws
Walk
them
the
to
Line
side.
count as a biopic?
Yeah, 100%. Why would it?
I
not?
liked Walk the Line. It's been a while.
I haven't seen Walk the Line. I should really get on that.
I would say 300.
Um,
We,
Does it?
John's
Zach, are you
moving
going to
on.
say that The Social Network is your favorite biopic?
Oh, that's a good
No,
one.
I wouldn't even consider that a biopic. Weird.
Yeah, because it's not about like him
One
per
person.
se. Yeah,
I mean, it is like if someone
Yeah.
argued it was, obviously I would be. It's a biopic, like, but it's its own. It's about this story more than it is about one person.
that I keep. One that's been at the top of my list to see for the longest time has been I, Tonya, if that counts.
Yeah,
That would
I was pretty
probably-
ho-hum on
Same.
Does
one.
it?
that
count?
would be
I don't know
my
if it
top.
counts.
Yeah, it does.
Actually,
So?
I thought I, Tonya was pretty good. Like, not. I think if I went back, I'd like it a little bit more. I wasn't in the greatest mindset when I watched it, but I did enjoy it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like
mean,
this
both-
as much as any of the most recent, Oscar-y biopic fare that's come out
What
over
about-
the last few years. Like
What about Bad
Um,
Education? Do we put that under biopic or?
I would say that's kind of that Social Network bubble. It's kind of like
Okay.
more about the story
So
than it
then-
is about a person.
So then, for me, it's either I, Tonya or A Beautiful Mind, probably.
So
Yeah, there's
I'm
a
not.
bunch I need to see. I need to see First Man. Didn't you like Shirley?
First Man. Shirley was solid.
Did I
And
make that
definitely worth watching for free on
up?
Hulu.
I need to see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
That was
Oh, same.
that was okay. That's not
I need to see.
That's not a biopic
Seberg,
about
or
him.
Yeah, but
however
that's
you
not a
pronounce her
biopic.
name. It's listed as a popular biopic per Google.
I've heard
So-
Seberg's not good,
it's
but I'm
great.
intrigued
It's
to
not
see
a biopic.
it
Which one? Is
though.
that?
Seberg. It's got Kristen Stewart movie that came out last year.
What's unfortunate is I think my baseline for biopics are Old Testament or like old biblical epics.
Noah.
So like the
Passion
Ten
of the
Commandments.
Oh God,
Or
Noah.
the greatest story ever told.
movie.
Which is
It was garbage.
Which, if you ever look at the greatest story ever told, that movie should be known for having like mainstream actors in the most like marginalized roles. Like Max von Sydow, yeah, sure, he plays Jesus, but like John Wayne has one line. Sidney Poitier doesn't have a line, but he's in the movie and he's given like second line billing or whatever. Like there's just so much like you like see these actors and you're like, this person's in it, and it just takes you out of the movie for a brief second, and you're like, okay, fine.
Ooh,
Um,
I saw the.
I still need to see
saw,
Tolkien.
I saw the 2004 King Arthur recently. Maybe we could put that up there too.
The Imitation Game
That was good.
decent.
Steve Jobs was good.
Unbroken was okay.
which did you like better, Steve Jobs or
If you're about to ask
the Aaron
me,
Sorkin
no,
one?
the Aaron Sorkin one is Steve Jobs.
Oh, what's the
Jobs.
Ashton Kutcher
Jobs.
one? Jobs. Okay.
I did not see
Theory
Jobs.
on Everything
Is Ashton
was
Kutcher in the good one?
decent.
No. Fassbender
it's-
is in the good.
It's the
is
Fassbender one. Okay.
But I've heard good things about Ashton Kutcher's performance.
I think
though.
it's fine. It's not. I've heard it's fine. I don't think it's.
I think the last movie I saw Ashton Kutcher might actually be Dude, Where's My Car? Like, I know he's been in things since then.
He's been making that Netflix show.
His movies and I have never crossed paths.
Schindler's List isn't written as a biopic on this.
Yeah,
What is?
Yeah, I would say it
Schindler's List.
qualifies.
I haven't seen it. I assumed I'd be too depressed, so I always put it off.
It's
and
just
never got
Schindler's
to it.
List is just so extremely
Bleak.
well made that yes, it's horrible the atrocities you endure, but Spielberg somehow makes it entirely watchable.
I
From
saw,
start to
like,
finish.
there's this thing I follow, Demented Pictures on YouTube. They have like a channel and stuff, and the guy's top 10 like scariest movies, Schindler's List was his number one. Like, just the fact that this shit happened is terrifying. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah,
I still need to watch Mary, Queen of Scots.
I heard that one wasn't as good.
Colette.
I've heard
But
good
I'm,
things about
I'm
it.
not. I'm disrespecting my Saoirse Ronan.
American Sniper was okay.
Colette was good. American Sniper's good.
Lone Survivor was entertaining.
Lone Star was not good.
I said it was entertaining. It had some great sound editing.
It's like Battleship is entertaining. Doesn't mean it's a good movie.
What
I
else?
think
What
that's
else?
gonna do it. For
You don't want me to just keep listing Google things for you now? For
That's
another
gonna
10
do
minutes.
it for Radioactive. Two thumbs down? No one's thumbs downing it, I guess.
It was at that. It
I
was
am.
Yeah.
sideways.
I am. I'm thumbs down it.
Oh, man.
It's in my bottom 3 movies of the year.
I think you
Oh,
gave it a 2.5,
man.
didn't you?
No, I gave it 2.
Oh, okay.
It's
Man.
I'm
right
2.5.
I'm trying to remember, like, there's something in between it and Wasp Network.
It's probably some shitty horror movie you watched.
For me,
It
for me,
probably
it would be a
is.
shitty
I'm
horror
not
film that he loves. Mine would be The Grudge and Desperados. And yeah, I hate it. Like a bunch of movies, I keep getting excited. It's like I need to watch more female-directed films, and then it's like so many of them are just mediocre this year that it's pretty disappointing.
I think we're gonna have a pretty
Like-
mediocre year.
Did we just
in general.
lose John?
Like Zach's favorite movie of the year, The Old Guard, is female-directed.
Yeah, why didn't we watch that? If we wanted to, like, put up female directors, we didn't watch that for the podcast, huh? Shame on
What
you
did we
guys.
watch? We watched Palm Springs. That's a much better choice.
I think.
In all fairness, I did say we should do Old Guard first, but then
White people,
changed
y'all
my
be
mind.
wildin' when it comes to parenting.
It's like, wait, let me backtrack on this real quick.
The last five movies I've watched this year were all directed by women.
Nice.
The last handful of movies I watched all got like 2.5 stars.
The best movie I saw, I think 4 movies this weekend, and the best one was Deep Blue Sea 3.
yeah, Deep Blue Sea 3 was so much more entertaining than this movie. It's like, and I didn't even really like half of it. Yeah, I guess John's
I'm gonna
done.
give him like one more second, see if he can be a part of the sign off. I'm assuming we.
Oh, one thing I could say about this movie that I thought was really great, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but there's a scene where they're walking through the snow, and like it just made me think of Ash so much from like a bombing that it was very foreboding, and I think that was one of the times where I was like, okay, now I appreciate what this director's doing. Was it intentional? I don't know, but I liked it.
The Chernobyl sequence was like, yeah, we need, which I thought was effectively done, and like that basically happened too. Like,
Yeah.
some firemen walked up and looked directly into the core and basically melted over the next 4 days.
Yeah.
Fucked up, man.
There's some scary shit in history.
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy is you could even argue that they're trying to get away from radioactivity as a cancer treatment too. They want to do all immunotherapy stuff. Like, the one somewhat positive thing that they had in there for her is slowly slipping away from something. In 10 years,
Yeah.
it might be considered an archaic practice.
That wasn't the one positive thing. She had the mobile Xray machines.
Oh, well, that's true.
Which are also harmful, kind of.
Yeah.
But it also saved a lot of
lives.
limbs and lives, I'm
This is
probably like,
Yeah, it's like when she said it's like we're, like taking off, limbs like sprained ankles. I'm like, oh Jesus, that's
Yeah.
Whew.
That was news to me that they're like, oh, you
My
twisted
God.
your ankle, let's chop your leg
that
off.
gave me a flashback.
well,
When I was
that's
little,
got to go.
When I was little, I did gymnastics and I jumped off a springboard and landed funny and twisted my ankle. When I got home, my dad threatened me with like a butcher's knife to cut it off, and I will never forget that. It was a joke, but it was not funny for.
Is this
It was
a
a
horse
joke,
hospital?
but I was still a little too traumatized by the whole event to take it as a joke.
I fell in a creek and like my foot smashed on a rock and I like managed to crawl my way out. It was during my brother's like baseball game. And this is when we're in like middle school, so I was just fucking around while the game was going on. But then I had a game that night and my dad's like, "You're going to be fine. You're going to play." It's like, go rice it. So I had
Just go rub some dirt on it.
yeah, so I spent the rest of it, because it was Andy had played in like the first thing in the morning, and then I was playing a night game. So I went home and I had my foot up and all night and then all day, but then went to my game and he threw me in the outfield though at least once, like in the right field where nobody hits the ball in Little League. But I ended up sitting out most of the game. I think I got one hit and was like hobbling down the field. I'm like, I am really hurt. And I went to the doctor the next day and had a broken foot. So
all this made me think about, for whatever reason, gymnastics should never be allowed as a sport.
that's going to do it for Radioactive. Next week, we are going to flash back to the Disney classic, according to Ben.
According to me as well. It's amazing.
Underappreciated is what I'll say.
The Emperor's New Groove was released in 2010?
2000.
Right?
2000.
2000? Okay.
I was going to say.
Stars David Spade, Patrick Warburton, and... who else is in this movie? I've never seen it.
Who did you say? David Spade?
Patrick Warburton.
Palama.
Patrick Warburton. Who's Isma? Because I know she was famous too.
I don't know. I'd have to
John
look this up.
Goodman.
Isma was Eartha Kitt.
So is this is
Oh,
this
Tom
like
Jones. Tom
is
Jones
this
too.
the downturn of like kind of Disney? This was like one of the last hurrahs of hand drawn animation for Disney.
Downturn? Excuse you?
No, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, a lot of people did consider this a financial downturn. I know it has its beloved fans,
Yeah,
but I'm saying like the genre dies pretty quickly after this.
Yeah, I think the last hurrah, like the last big animated movie they did was what, Princess and the Frog?
Yeah, but that was like a attempt. That was a reclamation. Like they like brought that out well after the Home on a Range or Treasure Planet or one of those is one of the last ones, I think, or something.
Treasure Planet like just bombed unbelievably, which I haven't seen, but everything I've heard makes me think it's going to be just like Emperor's New Groove. Not like comedy, but like, oh my god, why doesn't everybody know this movie is like one of Disney's best?
I thought it and Atlantis both got similar.
Atlantis, yeah, I think was after this too. Either way, Emperor's New Groove, hand-drawn Disney animated movie. I've never seen it, so
I bet you're going to hate it.
I bet I'm going to hate it? Okay, we'll see.
Wait, Lilo and Stitch came out after this, so no.
Was it?
Yeah, but Lilo and Stitch also wasn't like a huge success like Lion King or Aladdin. It's like animated features in general started declining like heavily after the big renaissance of Disney.
Yeah, not nearly enough parents died on screen in those movies, so...
So go watch Emperor's New Groove. Come back next week. See what I thought about it. Who cares what these guys thought? Is this one a musical?
No,
there's no songs in it.
It has some numbers.
I feel like there is one in the beginning, but I don't. It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's not a musical.
Got it. I'm Zach Oldenburg. You can find me wherever you can find at Zach Oldenburg. You can find us at middleofrow.com. Rate and review the podcast. Apparently it does stuff.
I'm Ben Grigsby. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at the Grigsby Bear, and you can find all of us on Facebook at Middle of the Row.
I'm Jonathan Rahul. You can follow me on Twitter at Another Rahul J, and you can also follow us on Twitter at Middle of Row.
And I'm Lauren Heimbaugh. You can find me on Twitter at Beware of Trees, and you can find us on Tumblr at middleofrow.tumblr.com.
Thanks for listening. Go watch The Emperor's New Groove. The Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, The Emperor's New Groove.
And remember, the best seats are in the middle of the road.